of the universe. They claim to cut the edge, but we're the ones to do it first. In other words, man, y'all ain't f***ing with us. We all swore, so war ain't nothing to us. It's the return of the psychedelic. Every single line's a relic from the confines that a mind envelops. Y'all motherfuckers sat by as the crime developed. Not your first try, pressure got your third eye unsettled. Bird's eye view from the highest level. There's not a chance when you all look like ants. I'm in my primal state, and the order hit harder than a diamond plate. The margin about as wide as a giant's waist. My claws like throwing stones at Goliath's face. This is ISIS at the Nile with Osiris. Our stolen treasure chest from the bones of known pirates. We know the cause right. Home, so don't try it. You label false prophets, I've slain your false idols. I rode the waves for 40 days and 40 nights. For generations, my offspring tried to get the story right. The damn flow feel like Van Gogh on a starry night. The sharpest knife is Rambo trying to start a fight. We flew across the night and ponds made a light. Call it a close encounter of the gods through a mic. And it's raw shit, everybody like, oh shit. You ain't got a choice, you won't have to take flight.
King Tut, aka Tutankhamun, formerly Akhanaten, is by far one of the most well-known Egyptian pharaohs to the Western world. In fact, the image of his golden death mask has been plastered on everything marketed as Egyptian, from posters to jewelry to t-shirts. But why is King Tut so well known to the world? His reign was neither long nor impressive. In the hierarchy of Egyptian pharaohs by influence, he wouldn't even make the 53-man roster. It must again be noted that many dynastic periods of Egyptian history were ruled by multiple pharaohs contemporaneously. As maintained by Egyptologists, Tutankhamun married his half-sister and attempted with her to have 2 children, both of whom which died. Tutankhamun is credited, however, with the restoration of religious cults and polytheistic deities within the temples throughout Egypt, which apparently had been banned by his father, Akhanaten. But the real reason for the world-famous notoriety of one King Tut is simply based upon the discovery of what Egyptologists believe are the remains of the fragile boy king. Howard Carter, a British archaeologist, is regarded as the discoverer of the burial site in 1922 within the assumed location of the Egyptian Valley of the Kings. For the first time ever, the world would get first-hand details of an authentic Egyptian burial. Although the French and British had been occupying Egypt for nearly a century, allegedly, no burials had been presented before the world in a historically related academic fashion. Just as with his relative unimpressive reign, the tomb of Tutankhamun is quite unimpressive as well compared to the supposed burial sites of the more impressive pharaohs. But the question should be explored. What happened to the rest of the bodies? The most common answer among historians is they were looted, which begs another question. Looted by whom? Which begs another question. When were they looted?
Securing the pyramid's treasures was a major task, and elaborate traps would be designed to capture any trespassers. No matter what security measures were set in place, all the pyramids would share a common fate.
All of the tombs were robbed. And you know, even the pharaohs realized that. They put in blocking stones, they tried everything. By the 18th dynasty, it was clear the pyramids were a giant neon sign to say, "This way to the gold."
In the beginning of the 18th dynasty, the Egyptians changed tactics. They moved the royal cemetery to the south, at Thebes. No giant monuments pointed the way to the pharaoh's treasure. These tombs now were hidden, deep within the craggy walls of a bleak area. Well beyond the cultivated fields near the Nile, nothing grew there. It was literally the land of the dead.
Does the library of that knowledge lie?
I think there is extraordinarily powerful evidence to suggest that this is so. If you were amongst the survivors of a high civilization, and your civilization had been destroyed in an enormous cataclysm, and you wanted somehow to keep the memory of your civilization preserved and to pass down the knowledge to the future, and you might particularly want to do that if you believe passionately in the reincarnation of the soul, by the way.
Would it be reasonable to assume that the Egyptians looted the burial sites long before the arrival of the French and the British? If this were so, why didn't the Egyptians have any conceptualization of their own history? Conversely, would it be reasonable to assume that these burial sites were looted after the invasion of the French? As corroborated by Egyptologists, Jean-Francois Champollion was the first person who could even read hieroglyphics in over 2,000 years. So native Egyptians wouldn't even know what they were reading or looting, much less the history behind great pharaohs such as Ramses. Champollion is another major block on the pyramid of Egyptology. He is regarded as the creator of the Egyptian language for being one of the first to decipher the meaning of hieroglyphics. Champollion is the champion of Napoleon's Egyptomania, which was an academic craze centered around the discoveries of Napoleon's Egyptian military campaign. This newfound interest in ancient Egypt instituted a sweeping influence across the world, but especially the world of historical literature. Essentially, this Egyptomania initiated entire fields of research and industry. And no field of research was more heralded than Egyptology. And no industry was more lucrative than the pilferage of ancient tombs and the capitalization of precious ancient antiquities. But until the discovery of King Tut's tomb by Howard Carter in 1922, none of these precious antiquities had been exhibited to the public.
It was the archaeological find of the century, perhaps the greatest single discovery of all time.
Today, Tutankhamun's hoard remains the Cairo Museum's biggest draw. Millions have gazed awestruck at these incredible finds.
But these dazzling treasures have blinded generations of archaeologists to a startling fact that could change our understanding of this most famous pharaoh forever. For there is something surprising about the contents of this tomb.
If you look closely at that material, you'll see that something like 80% of that material was never made with Tutankhamun in mind.
These are not Tutankhamun's treasures, so why are they in his tomb? Luxor, on the east bank of the River Nile. In the pharaoh Tutankhamun's lifetime, he would have known this city as Thebes,